Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. There are mysterious and questionable things happening in this general election that are only affecting one specific political party, Reform UK. In this video, we're going to give you guys all the updates on what is going on with the potential establishment stitch up and plot against Reform UK and Nigel Farage in order to bring down the support of the party. This is about the candidates, council culture, and the mainstream media. Let's get on with the show. Okay, so something really weird is happening. Nigel Farage has been around for a long time. You know, he was in charge of UKIP, and UKIP had different phases. There was a point where UKIP was very radical, very anti-establishment. There were a number of candidates there. As usual, there will always be a few bad apples or politically incorrect ones or some extremist ones, and then they had to do good vetting. Reform UK is a centre-right party. The platform is centre-right. It shouldn't really attract anyone that crazy, but somehow left, right and centre, over the last few days, few weeks, we've been hearing that candidates, part of Reform UK, are being exposed for being absolute crazy nutters. So, and at first we thought, did they actually do anything wrong? Did they actually say anything wrong? Now, there was one or two who were just being politically incorrect, and they should have just defended them. But a lot of them are coming out saying some really, really bad stuff. And the media are very much interested in exposing them. Not other parties, just Reform UK. You always have weirdos in every party anyway. We then discovered what's actually been going on. Nigel Farage has now exposed the truth, saying Reform paid a vetting company £144,000 to carry out candidate checks. Not a single piece of work was delivered. Colin Bloom has links to the Tory party and has very serious questions to answer. Colin Bloom is in charge of the company. Lawyers have been instructed, we do not rule out police action. So, I did some digging to discover what Nigel is actually talking about. It gets really weird. Okay, get ready for this. And if you're watching this live, we'll get your reaction, of course, in the live chat as well. This is Colin Bloom, CBE. He received the honours under the Tory government. Close to Boris Johnson and the liberal wing of the Tory party, and obviously in charge of the company that is vetting.com. Vetting.com, political parties use this company to vet their candidates, for example, background checks, social media checks, everything, right? Somehow, only one political party has been affected by, let's just say, inaction. I was going to say malpractice, but inaction from vetting.com's side. They didn't vet the candidates properly, right? Now, sometimes vetting people's backgrounds is difficult. You have to dig deep. Sometimes it's easy. If a bunch of weirdo Westminster bubble journalists can do a quick Google search and find out dirt on Reform UK candidates, a vetting company this big should be able to also find it way beforehand, before they even approve the candidates. But that didn't actually happen. We then discovered vetting.com is actually linked to Sphinx technology. That is their providers and builders of cutting-edge RegTech software, products and services. Again, Colin Bloom is also behind this as well. This is, of course, Colin Bloom, the chairman of the company, Sphinx. He actually has a bio on it as well. Colin has spent 30 years in the business, not-for-profit and political world. An experienced and dynamic leader, he brought the founding team together for Sphinx Technology. In 2019, Colin was appointed as an independent advisor to the British government under Boris Johnson. Until 2017, he was the international director of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. He has served on the executive board of the International Democratic Union, IDU, and the Alliance of Conservatives and Reformists in Europe. Amongst other responsibilities, Colin is an associate of the Westminster Foundation for Democracies and some global advisor, basically globalists, all that. And then we found out that in order to get things done, to vet people's backgrounds, candidates, I had the feeling that there will be people who will be infiltrating Reform UK to give a bad name to it anyway, but these guys were supposed to be doing their job. Their checks were to include criminal records, sanctions, social media, straightforward, adverse media, right to work, identity verification, and whether the candidate was a so-called politically exposed person. Additional candidate checks that beyond the initial 400 were to be charged at £255 each, and Reform said that it had given vetting.com £144,000 in total. Somehow, nothing was done about this. Now, Reform UK did say that they knew about Colin Bloom's links and previous history with the Conservative Party, but they did say that they were given reassurance by the company that there will be no conflict of interest. And that makes sense. I mean, that there are so many companies, firms, investments that are linked to politics that, of course, the founders or the chairman or the president at some point was part of a political party. That's normal. You can still work with them. But when the relationship between the company and you falls apart, or they don't do anything, or they basically mess it up intentionally or unintentionally, then you have to ask questions about whether it was because of the links or not. Farage said that this is an establishment stitch-up. The owner of the vetting company obviously has deep links to the Tory party, and we have to answer some serious questions. Richard Tice also said that professional vetting company was paid a six-figure sum in April to vet Reform candidates. They promised a deep dive, particularly on social media, and adverse press checks, received our candidate data, but then delivered absolutely nothing. Suddenly, a round of stories appear in the Times and elsewhere after nominations close, including some stories that are 15 years old. Something feels very wrong, and I have instructed lawyers to pursue this matter vigorously. This is Richard Tice, the former leader of Reform UK. As we said, the links between vetting.com and Sphinx Technology Limited as well. It wasn't just Colin Bloom, but also Roger Lempen, who is a businessman from New Zealand, also in charge of the whole operation as well. They have come out to say, there's a statement from vetting.com saying, some months ago, we approached all the major UK political parties offering our automated background screening services. We were delighted to be asked to help Reform. Everyone's working assumption was that the election would be in the autumn, giving us the summer to complete this work. Given the explicit need for candidate consent, as well as our systems needing basic personal data link, date of birth, our automated software was not able to process Reform's candidates with the data that was provided. So they're now saying, oh, we just were not able to do it. The system failed. The data that we received from Reform UK, unfortunately, we couldn't do anything with it. What are the likelihoods? Considering that this is the company that also gets approached by other political parties to do the same work, somehow when it comes to one party, there is failure. And somehow, the moment the nominations close, the media, the press, are very much ready to expose candidates left, right, and centre. Why is it that nobody is exposing all the Islamist candidates, part of the Green Party and George Galloway's Workers' Party, whatever it's called? There are so many nutters there. Nobody cares about them, but everybody cares about Reform UK. Links to the Tory party. What a coincidence. So, as we said, Nigel Farage has now said it will be considering a legal action and police action as well. Cosmic Audio says the establishment are attacking all those they fear. Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson are but two names. It is interesting that today we've had two video updates for you guys, and both of them is about establishment plots against the people on the political right, Tommy and Nigel. And it might just be the beginning. Anyway, let's have a look at... there's a comment saying that Reform UK were foolish to trust such a site. I mean, these are so-called reputable and credible companies that have good track record on paper. So I didn't blame them for trusting them. And all these companies, as I said, the people behind them were at some point part of the mainstream political parties anyway, Labour or Tory or Lib Dems. So unless you're going to do your own vetting, and you can't really do your own vetting, your political parties will not have the expertise to do that. It's a very tricky story. The whole system, the whole market is controlled by the establishment people. Tony Jackson says the media and useful idiots are out with their pitchforks to demonize a reform. I've noticed a vast increase in abusive randoms commenting on my posts in support of reform. Yeah, if they didn't see Reform UK as a threat, they would have just ignored it or made fun of it. But no, they are very much proactive. Super sticker from Angela Gardner. Thank you so much, Angela, for the support. Let's quickly go back to the normal live chat as well. There's a lot of supportive comments for reform, saying reform is a genuine threat to the establishment. And they're not even that radical. Reform UK is not even like a crazy radical party. They're still doing centre-right policies and platforms. So, and a lot of the people who joined reform are from the previously establishment. So if they think reform is a threat, imagine how they would see the rest of us. If I, my 2C, just tried to like start a political party, I'll be in prison. Anyway, did they not notify them when they weren't able to vet everyone before it was released to the press? Well, apparently not, according to Reform UK. They weren't told, but that's why they want to take legal action and potentially police action as well. Though they've taken their money, but they didn't actually deliver. Dan says, I support reform. I think we have to expect the other side will be up to the dirty tricks. And this is just the beginning. We still have, was it 2 or 3 weeks till the actual election? Expect more chaos to come out. Absolutely. I mean, was it last night? We were doing a live stream on here on the channel, and I decided to check Sky News, the Sky News website, on the homepage, the main page for the politics section. It was like 3 or 4 stories about Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and not objectively, it was all attacks. They're very much completely given up on the Tories, the mainstream media, in terms of attacking the Tories, because they know the Tories are gone anyway. Now, it's all about, obviously, going after reform. Les G says, Maya, you are defending them paying £144,000 up front. Stupid comment. I don't think you know how business works, Les. I'm not really sure if you know how contracts work in Westminster, whether you're dealing with a public affairs company, a lobby company, or even pressure groups to obviously produce something for you, whether it's a report or research. Any of these strategic companies, consultancies, or obviously in this case, you have to give them the money. That's the point. And then they'll have to deliver. It's part of the contract, because the contract that you sign it becomes an ongoing relationship, or based on a project or seasonal based. It's not like when you go to Tesco to buy an apple. Even then, you still have to give the money first before you pick up the apple, take it outside the shop. So I think people know how the world of business works in Westminster. Anyway, Gary says Reform UK are rattling the cages of other parties. With this in mind, they will do anything to disgrace reform. I bet there are some really juicy stories about other parties. As I said, there's no appetite to go after some of the Green Party candidates, all these Islamists, or George Galloway's Workers' Party candidates. Do you really think they're all clean and safe and nice? No. I mean, some of them already just been coming out publicly saying they want Sharia in the UK, which is basically treason, because that means you're going to change the constitution of the country. Apparently that's normal. I just bring back the treason laws. That's the only way to protect the country. Barry Cullen says, be careful, Maya. They will probably be coming for you next. This is the same as in America. They weaponize the services like the police, the FBI, and everything else, and then try to silence those against them. Well, they can try, but I'm simply reporting the news and reporting what is being reported, what was happening in real life. And so I mean, fortunately, I've survived until now. We've had issues over the last few years and death threats, but, you know, I'm uncancelable. I've already cancelled myself, so the Iranian regime cancelled me. Maya, do you think the establishment wants a Ramona coalition, given that Labour say that they won't join the single market? It's very strange, given the left apparently hates the Tories. I think they just want the status quo back. They simply want their own worldview to stay as it is, which is what we call liberal globalism. They don't want any upset. Even the biggest upset was the vote to leave the EU in 2016. The Brexit vote was a huge upset. They weren't expecting it. And since then, they've been trying to contain the situation because they see it as a problem. They see it as a crisis and as a threat to the status quo. And the whole point is they would do anything. It's not really even just about joining the EU or not joining the EU. It goes beyond the EU. The EU is just a symbol of the rest of the globalist mentality that we have in this globalized world. The whole idea, we've seen so many videos from Tony Blair, even when he was Prime Minister, they genuinely believe this is the current world, get used to it, and one day we're going to get rid of flags and borders. And if you're supporting flags and borders, then you want to basically go back to 1913. Like, no, we accept that we live in a globalized world. We get it. A lot of things that we have now is from different places, including right now, using the internet, which was modernized by the Americans, YouTube, literally American. We use so many different things from different countries. We get it. We got health technology coming from different countries, Israel and many other places. We do live in a globalized world. I get it. But it doesn't mean you have to give up your sovereignty. And it doesn't mean that if you're criticizing globalism, that you want to go back to 1913. That's not really how it works. But they see it as black and white. You either have to be a full-on internationalist or you're basically a backward idiot. Super chat from Kenny Andrews saying what they have to be aware of is the rigging. So they will still do what we call legal rigging by finding ways to do tactical voting to get people in constituencies to tactically vote against Reform UK, because they know a lot of people don't want to vote Tory or Labour. There's going to be campaigns going around saying it's okay, don't vote Tory or Labour, but don't vote Reform. For example, in this seat, vote for the Lib Dems. So the Lib Dems are going to come up massively by default. Ironically, they are the true protest vote, but they are potentially going to be forming the opposition, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Whereas Reform UK, compared to the Brexit Party, compared to the UKIP, it's not really a protest vote. It's not a single issue party. It wants to be a normal political party, but they're going to go around and, of course, do all they can to ensure that Reform don't get any support. Louise says celebrates 40 months of membership. Ah, wow. Thank you very much. Maya, you are a great British patriot. God bless you and all the British and Israeli patriots. Thank you very much. All the patriots around the world, not just the Brits or Israelis. What's going on in the live chat? Noran says, look, keep the Tories in power and Nigel Farage will join the Tories and take over. Imagine if that's how it worked. The problem with Tories is not really change of leadership. It's the whole of the culture of the party. There are two parties in one party. You got the Liberals and you got the Conservatives, and the Liberals are in charge because they're in charge of Tory central office. CCHQ is basically the key to all issues. Because this country, until now, this country essentially has had one centre-right party in terms of practically successful. That's the Tory party. And basically representing conservatism until basically it's now been infiltrated by the Liberals. Which means, theoretically, until now, because now we have an opportunity to even replace the Tory party, those who want to. But until now, if you want to change the country, you have to basically start from here to go down. From the top, you have to basically change the leader, the Prime Minister, change the MPs. But then in order to do that, you have to change the candidates department in Tory central office. In order to change that, you have to basically change the people in charge of the central office. It's a bunch of liberals, a lot of them are American, they're not even British, working for the Tory party. If you change that, then you can change the party, the government, and the overall centre-right. Until now. But now, there's an opportunity for the Tories to completely go away, or reshape themselves, or just change the name of the party, because party donors are leaving. Without money, the Tory party is nothing. Without money and manpower. There are no activists, there are no members going out to campaign anymore. Even safe seats, they're struggling. There's no money, they've only raised £500,000. Without money and people, the Tory party, or any party really, is nothing. So now there's an opportunity to completely change the political spectrum. Whether it's a merger, whether it's a complete replacement, whatever's going to happen. Let's see what we have. Brian Hall says, One Nation traitors would oust Nigel if he joined. Exactly. They wouldn't even give an opportunity for someone like Nigel to join. Let alone, like, obviously, getting the existing right-wingers, even like people like Suella or anybody, to do something. Unless you change the people in charge of the actual party, it's not really about MPs or the leader. People in charge of the office, you're not going to do anything. Tamsin says, proportional representation would increase reform's chances. There needs to be change. No, it won't. This is why I've had so many conversations with Richard Tice and others. That's not how it works. And I cannot believe there are so many naive people at the heart of Westminster. First past the post is not working anymore. We need some sort of reform. We get it. But you can't just say proportional representation, PR by nature, without defining what sort of PR is going to cause chaos. Because it's based on the wave of support. So in this country, for example, compared to like the Netherlands or Germany or whatever, this country has about 5 million left-wing political parties, and it basically has 1 or 2 centre-right parties. For proportional representation, without defining it, would mean we'll have constant coalitions formed by the left-wing parties. So the Green Party, the Lib Dems and Labour will just always have parties, governments, not centre-right. Because the centre-right is only like 1 or 2 parties, it will be crushed. So unless you want to have, and I'm open to new versions of PR or any other system, you can't just say PR, and this is why Richard Tice has been wrong to keep pushing it. It's going to backfire massively on reform. Because it was going to work if Reform UK had remained like the 4th party. Yeah, it would have helped, potentially. But Reform UK is going to potentially be the 2nd party, or definitely the 3rd party. Which means they are effed. They will be completely out forever. That's not how PR works. But again, a lot of people have been going around talking nonsense in the mainstream politics as well, without explaining to people how the actual voting system works. They just say, the current system doesn't work. We're not winning, so we have to find a way to win. There's a new system. Without explaining what it is, they just say, just vote for that. And be like, yeah, new system. Someone told me it works. That's not how it works. But there are different versions that you can discuss, and I'm definitely open to ideas. I don't like PR, someone says. It gives minorities the power to water down policies, but that too. People voted for, you don't get a strong government for the majority. Yeah, I mean, the PR will create loud minorities over the actual majority or silent majority. That's always been the case anyway. If you are a libertarian-leaning person, you would want something like PR because you won't really have a workable government. It would just be full of hung parliaments anyway, and nothing will get done. But right now we're going through a phase where we need things to be done. Even as a libertarian-leaning person, I'm like, we kind of need Parliament to do things for a while. We have a lot of problems to be fixed, so you need a strong government. But with this lot, absolutely not. There's no hope. And if you want to change the whole system, then you have to change the whole system. The whole constitution has to change. You can't just change one part of it. As I always say, it's not just about the voting system. You have to change the way the House of Commons sits, the number of seats, the way constituencies work. The role of the MP will have to change. Because right now, it's representation, the representative from the area. You have to change the role. You have to get rid of the king, the monarchy. You have to decide whether it's going to be president or chancellor role, something like that. The head of state, head of government, everything has to change. And people have to decide It's a big constitutional change. You can't just change one aspect of it, or like how you vote in a constituency. The role of the MP has to be defined. You could turn it into a senator role. You could turn into just like in a congressman. Like, it really depends what you want. Because if you want to keep it as a representative of the area, then keep first past the post, or tiny bit of it amended. Maybe do 2 rounds of voting. Literally get people to go to the ballots there, the postal, the polling stations twice. That's another solution. Instead of getting them to do single transferable or this or that, just say, this Thursday, you all go to vote. The top 2, next Thursday, come back to vote for the top 2, see which one wins. And then that way, at least one candidate would get more than 50% in each constituency. That's the only way to do it. But that takes a lot of work. That's two times voting, which kind of like, it's like there used to be the French presidential elections, I guess. But it becomes complicated. Anyway, this is, of course, the latest update from this election and the potential stitch-up against Reform UK. We'll keep you guys posted on this because Nigel has said they will be taking legal action and potentially police action. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.